All right, so I'm going to go over the form, resistance calculator form we were working on in class. As you can see, I've already got the basic setup. So I have properly named my controls like combo box 1, combo box 2, text value, text min value. Obviously this is first band, second band, third band, fourth band. So the combo box 1, 2, 3, 4 makes sense. Then I have band color 1, label band color 1, that sort of thing. So go ahead and set that up for yourself. Okay, the basic idea of this project is we're going to be able to, with these drop-down lists, select different colors, which will update these colors to match the resistor, and then it will calculate for us the value of that resistor. First thing you should go do is pull up the assignment, and I've added this chart file here to make it a little easier for you. See, the question marks are for the ones that don't actually have a value. They shouldn't be included. As recall from class, gold and silver are not really digits ones, so they won't exist for the first and second bands. So here is the full list of colors, and here is the full list of digits, and so forth. So that can make it a little easier when you go to start creating those arrays that we're going to use. So the first thing, in class we started to do the arrays for the values, but let's go ahead and start with the colors this time. So we'll adjust each of these colors to match the corresponding colors in the list. So if you recall, I can select this, click here, and it will bring up this edit items, which will allow me to add the appropriate list. Now, that's already got the list. This is the complete assignment. Let me pull up the list that I gave you guys here. So remember, if you copy the full list here, you would have to do some editing to this, right? If you pasted it in here, you'd have to do a little editing. Blue, right, like so. And remember, gold would not be one of the digits, so we'd actually get rid of gold because it does not have a corresponding value. And if we leave it, it will it's not green, it's green. It will put the positions in the corresponding array we're going to try to get values out of off by 1. So we want this to match the value list, and also the user doesn't want to see a value that doesn't make sense for that band. If we left the gold and silver in, they might think that you could put those in as valid values, but they're not. So that's a way to help your user minimize mistakes, which we like to do. So there's the list for the first band, and it'll be the same list for the second band, like so, which is all the colors except the gold and the silver. So now we want to create a corresponding, well, let's go ahead and finish. We'll do all 3 of these, edit these items. This one has all the colors, right? So you have the full list of colors in this one because all of them had a corresponding multiplier. If we looked at the you can look at this chart. You can see they all have a corresponding multiplier. There's no missing gaps. And for the final list, no black, no orange, no white. All right. So that looks okay. Let's double check our fourth band, make sure it's correct. No black. So no black, no orange, and no white. All right. So now the bands, these drop-down boxes, match appropriately. So we could go ahead and start creating our array, but what we probably should do is just test that out, make sure we don't have any errors, either compile errors, and then verify that the drop-down boxes work the way we expect, right? They don't do anything yet, but I can select them. And let's go ahead. Now, you notice when it first starts up that these do not have any index selected. let's go ahead and fix that. So if you go to the form load, and that's a special method that runs every time the form is loaded, and you've seen it once or twice before, but go ahead. To get there, you can either select the form and go to the events and find the form load. Double click here. It will generate that. Or you can, since it's default for the form, default event that gets generated, if you double click here, it will also generate that. Now remember, what that means is this has generated this stub automatically for you. Now what we want to do is for all those combo boxes, combo box 1, we're going to set the selected index equal to, think for a moment, what index do we want it to set to? Well, more than likely we should set it to the first one, which is going to be index 0. Just like an array, the selected indexes are 0 based on the combo box. I'll do a little cut and pasting here. Always be cautious when you do this. Make sure you pay attention. And I will change those. So now, if I were to run this code now, what I expect to see is that as soon as it loads, the first item in each list will load, which I think for the 2-digit ones, the first 2 bands is going to be black, and then I think black is skipped. It might be brown, but it should match the first item in each list, right? It's blue. Okay, so it's the 4th band that doesn't have the black, which is the tolerance band, which we'll talk about a little later. Okay, so now they're automatically being set to an index. We like that, but now we want that to change these items to the appropriate color. So let's go back and see how we can get that to work. So now what we're going to need is an array. So it turns out that if you looked closely at a label and its background color, there's the 4 color, there's the black. So if you look at this item, we can set it here, and this is a system color. Oops, I just changed it. Nice. I'm going to undo that. And if you go to the documentation, you can find this, but it's under, this actually is in the namespace under drawing. So we actually already have the using statement to get to it, and it's called, surprisingly enough, called color. It should show up. Let's see. And I have to say it's private or something like that. There we go. Color using system drawing. Let's see, is it system drawing color? Let me see. It's not liking that. Let me see here. Oh, well, foolish me. Okay, the reason I'm causing myself problems is, where am I putting this? I'm putting this outside the class. It is in the namespace, and you cannot declare variables in a namespace. You have to declare it within a class. There we go. That's more like it. All right. So I should be able to get my color to work. Color. There it is. All right. So I want this to be an array of colors. And remember that I need to give it a name. So we will call this because this will be for the first two bands. We can use the first two bands identically, right? Because they have the same colors. And I will use my initialization to do so. Now, this is a valid statement, but it creates this reference variable to an array that is empty, so it doesn't have anything in it. I actually want to have some colors, and if I look back at these are the colors I want. Right? They aren't. I have to actually, have them as colors, and what we'll see is that we can. It doesn't know what those are yet, but it turns out there is in fact a. No, do not install the updates at this point. I am busy. All right. Color dot black, like so. So each one of these in the color class, there is it has these static variables that will return the correct colors for each one of these for you. So we'll just add the color, and now we're going to go way off the screen, so I don't want to do that because it'll be hard to see the code. So I will just hit enter, and it will also good form because you don't want the line to run way off the edge. It can get difficult to read. And now, what do I need to remember about this list of colors, though? Oh, and of course I misspelled green. So what do I need to know about these colors? So for band 1 and band 2, I did not want the color gold because it won't match the list and there won't be a corresponding color. And I did not want the color silver. So I can take those out. Now I can clean this up a little bit, make it a little neater. Always good to have neat code because it's easier to read. And spacing is nice, so I'll trim that a little bit, bring this back up. Thank you. Not that I'm doing something, but McAfee makes sure I'm informed. All right, so now for band 1 and band 2, I have this array. I can now use these colors and the selected index to change that label for me. But I'm going to need an event to do that. So let's, it's the event where we change this. The selected index has changed. If I double click on this, or if I go over here and go to selected index changed and double click, it will generate that event for me. I'll do it over here this time. Same effect though. And so what I want to have happen though is for combo 1, I want label band 1 color. I want the background color to change. And what I'm going to do is assign it a member of that array. So that array's name was color band 1 and band 2, right? So and the index is the same index of the combo box. Right? Now, what this means is I have to keep band 1 of this array in sync. That is, it has to have the same colors in the same order as the text that I entered on the front on the form, right? So these items must match the items in this list too. Otherwise, the colors will mismatch, right? So I should just go ahead and do all these, and at some point try them out. Or perhaps, more likely, I've changed the first band. Let me test it out. Blue, violet. All right, so that looks like it's working. Good job for me. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for combo box 2, which will be almost identical, right? Because it's going to use band 1 and band 2 color coding, but we want to change this and obviously to band 2, right? And again, go ahead and immediately test this, right? Right, so now that one is working. Excellent. All right, so now I want the same thing to happen for the third band and the fourth band. But the bands are different lists, right? There's different lists of colors. So what I have to do is I have to create a different array, right? And I'll call this one maybe band 3, band 4. Now there are some ways that I actually could use the same array, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So if we look for band 3, it's actually the full list, right? So I don't have to change band 3. Band 4, I have to get rid of black, right? And then what else was missing? Black, orange, and white. So now I can generate the same code block here, and there we go. I'll change this to band 3, this to band 3. Did I make sure I go update that? Did I change the name of this? Band 3. I called it band 3, right? And meaningful names, right? Because at least I have an idea of where that's coming from, you know. And then go ahead and generate that for here. And then, of course, I'll have the same basic code, but I will, in fact, have band 4. So, and one of the things we want to realize is we have a lot of logic that's going on, but really not much code is supporting that. Just this assignment, you know, we have this, we recall the item from the array using this index from the combo box and assign it to the back color. So it's pretty slick and doesn't take much coding, just takes a little forethought. Okay, gray, green, uh-oh. That one's not working, right? That one looks like the array is off, right? Blue. And so why is this one off? Think about why it's off. Because what did I do? I copied this, but before I had copied it, I removed 2 colors. I removed the gold, which comes after brown. So I have to come back up here and say right, and add my comma, right, and then I also had deleted the silver, which comes after red. So I have to add the silver back into that list so that they match. All right, so let's take a look at band 3 again, see if we corrected that little problem. So blue works. Let's go down further. Violet works. Okay, so now they're matching up properly. White. Right. So, and this idea is sort of a parallel array idea. You'll hear it called that. We have 2 arrays. In this case, we actually have the list in the combo box, but it's the same sort of idea. And they're matching position to correlate the information in some way. All right, so now we've got the colors working nicely. Now we want to get this resistor value. And the resistor value is the first band digit times 10 plus the second band digit times the multiplier. So we're going to need an array for the first band and second band digits, and we're going to need an array for the multiplier. And the multiplier will be what sort of information. Let's take a look at the information. So the digits, they appear that they're digits, so they could be ints. The second array probably needs to be some sort of double, right? Or decimal, depends on how you want to do it. Either one probably will work for our purposes. So there we go. So let's go ahead and start with the digits. So let's go back to our, and we'll go up here, and we'll create another and this is going to be an int array. So this is again band 1 and 2. So it's going to have the same number of colors as band 1 and 2. If we go back and look at the document that I gave you, you can see I can just grab these out of it for now. Now obviously if you were writing this yourself, you'd have to kind of figure that out. But this gives you, the quick and dirty. Now, what we know is that this is for gold, which we're not going to have in this list, so we don't want in this list. So let's get rid of that. And this is for silver, and we don't want that. So let's get rid of that, because it's not going to be in the band 1 and band 2 color list, and therefore it won't have a corresponding digit. And that would make this problematic. All right. So let's start to access that information in a certain way. Now this is going to be a little tricky. Let's start to create a method. Private accessor, it doesn't really matter at this point. Could be public, but for the most part it makes more sense to be private. And we won't have a return anything. What we're going to do is update the screen. We're going to update our value. So we'll update values, right? And it's not going to need anything because what we're going to use are the selected indexes, right? But let's go ahead and first, we'll create a value. And we will immediately test that we can actually update the right label or text box. I chose text boxes, not tax boxes. I'm thinking about taxes because I just paid mine. It was expensive. And then the text value text I will update. It's always good to do your code in this kind of incremental way, particularly as a new coder. It gives you confidence that what parts of your code actually works. So we've gotten this double value, and then we're going to go ahead and assign it to the text value when this is called. So what I'm going to do is call this anytime I do a selected index change. I will update the values. And I'll go ahead and I'll just add this code to any one of these selected indexed changed events, event handlers technically. The event is what creates this, creates the call to this, and then the event handler is what is run when that happens, right? So now I've called it, but all it should do really, oops, not open file, just trying to save. But all it should really do is put the value here. So let's go ahead and run this, and there it is, 0. And the reason it runs automatically is because I changed the index in the form load. It should change, it will actually update, but obviously we're not doing anything with it right at this point. If you look, so basically when this is called, it actually generates an event that calls this. So great. Now, so this event is being called for the selected index events. So let's go back and look at so it's putting the 0 down, which is good. But it doesn't really do much yet, right? And let's go ahead and do something like, right? Just for kicks. N2 is numeric with 2 decimal places, I believe. Okay, so now we actually want to start getting these digits. So to get the first digit, the value, we can say the value equals digit. And the digit is going to be, braces, based on the the combo box 1 dot selected index. All right, like so. And we're supposed to multiply that by 10, so we'll just multiply this by 10. Now we're going to run into a little problem here. Let's do this. And you may recall this from class. So 0.0, let me, oh, no, that's working now. Excellent. It's going to be when we add the second, this worked the first time. It's the second one, right? So now you can see we've got this working. It changes when I change to the appropriate digit, right? 30, which is 3 times 10, 2 times, etc. Now what I want to do though is add the digit, the second band's digit, right? So I need to, for the formula, I need to add the second band's digit, the first one times 10, just the second one. So to do that, I can use the same array, but now I'm going to use the combo box selected index 2. Right? Let's run this. And this is where I'm going to run into trouble. Because the truth is, you can see here that the selected index is -1. So what's happened is combo box 1 has run, but combo box 2 hasn't had its index, hasn't set up yet. So the truth is, we never want to run this code if any of our indexes are less than 0, because that means they're invalid. The selected index of -1 means that that nothing is selected, and it doesn't make sense to try to update the value if one of the combo boxes isn't selected. Let's say less than 0. We'll say less than 0. So how are we going to do this? We need to actually make a decision. So the decision in our code, we're going to use a conditional, and it's going to be, kind of an awkward OR statement. You can break it into multiple ORs if you want, multiple ifs if you want, but effectively, if any one of these selected indexes are combo box 1, 2, combo box 3, selected index is less than 0, or combo box 4, selected index is less than 0. Right? So if any one of these is less than 0, we should get out of here. We should return. Now, if you're uncomfortable with doing returns, having multiple return statements or return in the middle like this, the other option, of course, is to only do, so to switch this to say that selected index is greater than 0, greater than 0, greater than, oops, undo, yeah, greater than 0, greater than 0. But now I don't want these to be ORs. I only want to run this code. I'll get rid of that. This code if all of those are greater than 0, right? It's still possible they got set to something weird that's not a valid index, but unlikely the way the combo box works. So I have and that's a common pattern you see with these Boolean expressions. You can flip them that way. You reverse the symbols and reverse the combinations. You kind of alter the effect to the opposite way, right? So now, if they're valid, if all the indexes are valid, I will run this update code. So let's go ahead and see if that solves my problem. Let's see here. Oh, now I'm not getting anything. So let me double check my logic. So what is wrong with my logic? Before I had less than 0, but I had to be careful because less than 0 worked because I was worried about -1. But 0 is a valid index, right? So I have to include 0 as a potential index. So let's go see if that fixed my little problem. And there, so I can already see that it's working. We can see we're getting some updates. Notice when I change the third band, nothing really changes because I haven't added the logic for that yet, right? Gray, brown, you can see it's updating there, right? Let's take a look. So I'm not sure I'm getting what I'm supposed to. Let me see, double value, value, value to string. All right, let's take a look. So is 60, 68. All right. Oh, I think originally I had black, and then I was changing this, and I was changing. That makes sense. All right. So that looks like it's working. Now, the last thing to get my value to be accurate is I have to multiply, and we can do this even on a separate line. It'll be a little easier to see. So I have the appropriate digits. But now I have to multiply them by the multiplier. And turns out, just like plus equals, there's actually a multiplies equals, which is just a shortcut, right? So now, but what I don't have yet is I don't have the band, the multiplier yet. So let me go ahead, and so I'm going to have another array, but look back at the values, and here are the values for the multiplier. And notice that there's 100, but there's also 0.1. So I can't make these ints, right? So I have to do something like double, right? And then it's an array. So I add the array braces, and I'll call it something meaningful. Multiplier. I'll set up my initialization, and I will paste in my. All right. And always remember to have your. Notice it says expected get, set, or accessor. But really, what's wrong is in the code is that I have multiplier, and then I have to do an assignment of this array to this variable that is going to reference that newly created array. Okay, so now I have my multiplier array, and I can simply ask it to access the correct item based on not combo box 1, but the third band, which would be combo box 3. So now all these are set to black, but if I start to change them, let's see, blue, notice that, and if we look back at the blue's multiplier is 10, and I had brown, which was 1, so that should be 10 times 10, which is 100. All right, because brown, remember, look back at our code here. Brown is the first significant digit multiplied by 10, so this results in 1. Black returns a 0 digit, and then I multiply by my multiplier, which was 10, and it gives me the value, which I then display. Okay, so I'm very close to being done, actually, surprisingly. But now I need the one last array. I need my tolerances array right here for the last band. So let's do something. Now again, look at those values, and they have to be something like a double, right? And let's talk a moment about what the tolerances mean. So the tolerances, now first off, of course, we don't have a tolerance for the black. We don't have a tolerance for, I forget which one this is. But again, this list will match our final band, right? This band. So it should have the same number of items as that band, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's not good. I'm missing some colors there, aren't I? All right, let me take a look. Blue, brown. Let's take a look at the chart. Oh, and why? That's because recall that way back when, previously, I told you that I had deleted, this list was wrong because I had deleted orange and silver. So orange and silver are still missing from this list. So I have to put them back. So orange follows green and silver follows red. Right. Okay, so let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That looks a little better. I think I'm spelling tolerance wrong. Let's see. All right, close enough. So the tolerance means how close it will, the requirement, how close it is to the actual calculated value. So it could be, 0.25 less, or it could be 0.25 more. So to get the min value, what we would do is take the 0.25 times the value and subtract it. And to get the max value, we would take the 0.25 and add it. So we're going to need a double min, and it's going to be the value times, we're going to use our tolerance array, right? And we have to tell it which that selected, the combo box, not the, getting a little ahead of myself, combo box 4 selected index, right? And I will add to it the original value. So that will give me the minimum value that should ever see for this resistor. It means how well, the tolerance tells you how precise they made the resistor. Was it really, did they say, close enough, it's within this range? Was the range very tight, so they knew they were very close to the exact range, or was it very broad? So the larger the tolerance, the wider the difference can be. So we have to be careful here because I believe the tolerances are in actual, not in decimal form, but they should be percent. Let's look at the original little chart. Yeah, so these are percents. So what does that mean for our formula? What do we have to multiply this tolerance by to get the correct value to add to value or subtract from value? And that should be actually, if I'm going to, let's do this. We'll do value plus this whole thing. I'll get rid of the value at the back. That's less intuitive. So the tolerance is going to be this whole thing value, right, times that. And it's going to be the minimum, so we're going to subtract it from the value. But this was a percentage, which means we don't just take the tolerance there. And we could do this. So here's the thing. We could come up, and this might be the better way to do this, is if it was 1%, that's really 0.01, right? And this is 0.05. And this is 0.005. That's 1%. I think I got to move the decimal point 2 places. 0.05. Let's see. 10%, which is 0.01. Make sure I'm doing this right. Let me see. I'll go back to the chart for a second. All right. So 0.25. Basically, I will divide it by 100, which will move the decimal place 2 points. So that'd be 0.0025. So let's see. 0.0025, and then the second one is 1. So I moved the decimal places 2 places. It was originally there, and I go 1, 2, so it's 0.00, and I'm going to read these all with a 0 to make it uniform. Easier to read when things are uniform. The next one is 5. So again, I'm going to move the decimal places 2 places. So it was there, and I go 1, 2, so that's correct. So be systematic in this. I was a little haphazard there for a second. So I have 0.05, so I'm going to move the decimal places 2. 1, 2, excuse me, 1, 2. So it's going to be 0.0005. 0.0005. All right. So, and then 0.5. So I moved it 2 places, and it's going to be 1, then another 0, so it's 0.005. 0.005. Good. And then I'm going to multiply, the tolerance is 2. So I move it 2 places. That's 1, then a 0.02. So that's 0.02. So then, oops, back up with that. And then 10. So I move it 2 places. It's 0, then 1. So it's 0.1. So it's 0.1. 0.1 because it was 10. And then the last 2. It's 0.1, 2 spaces, so it's 0.001. 001. Then we have another 5. which is 5%, right? So we moved it two spaces. The decimal was here. We go 1, and then the 0, so 0.0. So these should give me the multipliers I need for the tolerance, because they were percentages, so I had to convert them over. So now what happens in my min is I calculate the amount of the tolerance, which will be the value times this percentage. And then I'm going to subtract that from the original value to get my minimum. And then my maximum will be almost the same. The only difference is I will add it. So I will add it, and I will call this now max. All right. And now the min value I can set to the text, set the text property of that, and that will be min dot toString, and I can pass the toString a parameter to limit the number of decimals, and then this is going to be the max value. So I'll change this to max, right? So that should be about it. That should be about it. Let's give this a shot. Make sure we don't have any errors. You can see it's filling out all three, and let's choose some numbers. Blue. So we have to go back to our chart to verify. So like blue would be 6 times 10, right? Because that's the multiple. So if we go blue, we should get 66 times 10. And then 0.25, let's use a nice, let's use like 10%. So 660 would be 6.6. So let's try that. We'll go blue, 660, 10%. Oh, wait, we do 10% would be, let's see if we're getting that right. That seems low to me. It seems like it should be, oh wait, we're getting the color is not adjusting. That's bad. We need to fix that. So we have some debugging to do. Let's take a look. It's probably that we weren't careful when we did our selected index, and we chose the wrong. Let's see, band 3. Yeah, we were naughty down here. We didn't. Anytime you paste code, it can be tricky. Let's see if we fix that little bug. All right. Okay. So then the tolerance should be let's choose a nice tolerance like 1%. All right, 1%. Brown is 1%. So let's go ahead and start this. I'll change that to brown. And we'll do, again, blue. 1% of 660 should be about 6. That's right. So that looks about right, because brown is 10% tolerance, which we take 660 times 0.1. We're going to get 6-ish. And that's, what was it we do? I think we tried a brown. we do? We did blue, blue. Oh, we did triple blue. We did all blues. Yeah, we did all blues, and it turned out. And notice it's updating every time, so that's a good sign. So 660, so it's 2 point something, which looking at the tolerance for blue, it's 0.2. Oh, it's small. Okay, it's very small. So it'll turn out to be something very small, 0.25, which is teeny. Okay, so that looks like it's working then. All right. And you could get out a calculator, and you should get out a calculator and verify a couple of these to test your code. But it looks like we have the basics working. And that's it. So give that a whirl, and good luck. And I will see you in class on Wednesday, because there's no class on Monday.